on Instagram for those folks who are new here. And though two of the most popular ones that I saw this year as I was internet stalking in preparation for the show, like I always do, is easy ways to find flight deals. Can you talk and flight rewards? Can you talk us a little bit through some of your favorite tools?
Sure. I'm actually going to share my screen because I think this is going to be a little bit of a visual thing. So one of my favorite tools is Seats.Aero, which makes it so easy to just find all of the different flight deals with a selected number of different airlines. So I like to use it for Air Canada or Air France. I tend to use it quite a bit for Virgin Atlantic. But for example, if we just wanted to see all of the different flight deals on Air Canada, we can just say, okay, let's go from North America to anywhere. And then we can even say, let's search for a full year for a couple of people. And if we wanted business class, we could say, what's the best way to get to Istanbul, Turkey? And there's different flights from JFK or Boston or Newark or other different places where you can fly starting at 66.5 thousand points with Air Canada. So that is a really easy way to find a whole bunch of different business class flight deals, which I love. Another tool that I really like is Point Me, which if you have a specific date in mind that you're looking to travel, I would go with Point Me. If you're just trying to find everything that's out there, I would go with Seats.Aero. But Point Me searches about 33 different airlines, so it searches more airlines than Seats.Aero. And then you can say, hey, I'm trying to find flights from Manila to Los Angeles on February 8th in business class for this many passengers, and then go ahead and click search. Sometimes if you have a specific date that you need to travel, it makes it harder to find flight deals. But if you do have that constraint, it can be so much faster to just use Point Me to find any particular deals on that date rather than going through all of the different airlines. So those are two of my favorites for finding flight deals these days.
So I think the obvious first question is, are these free? And if not, how do you sign up?
Yeah, so Point Me, if you sign up at geobreezetravel.com/pointme, you get 3 free searches. Oftentimes, you're going to be paying about $5 a day, which is not too bad at all for a day pass with Point Me. There's also the free Built app, BILT, that you can download, and they have Point Me running in there for free as well. It only works with the free Built. It only works with the Built transfer partners in the Built app, but they cover most of the good ones with Air Canada, Air France, Turkish Miles and Smiles, Virgin Atlantic, Emirates. Most of the good transfer partners are covered by Built anyway. And for anybody who has not heard of Built, it is a credit card and rewards program where you can earn points by paying rent without having to pay any fees. And they have some of the best transfer bonuses. I think oftentimes the transfer bonuses will go more than 100%. So if you're transferring in 1,000 points from Built to Virgin Atlantic, it can suddenly turn into 2,000 points or 2,200 points, depending on the transfer bonus. So I love Built. It's one of my favorite programs. I am like a hashtag Built advisor as well, but their stuff's completely free. And that's another way to access Point Me for free. And then Seats.Aero has a free version and a paid version. The free version, you can search up to 60 days out. So it's really good for people who want to find all the good last minute flight deals. Or the paid version is $10 per month. And that's for Seats.Aero Pro. And with that one, you can search up to a year out. So you can find the entire calendar of availability.
And how are these the same? Are these different than a Google Flights, an Expedia? I'm trying to hit them all just in case I need to do promo later on. The ones that came to mind and the one I searched on my phone, Kayak, Expedia, or is it similar to all of the above?
So all the ones that you mentioned are good for finding flight deals that are with money, but they do not do a good job with showing you flight deals that you would do on points. So if you want to do points deals, Point Me and Seats.Aero is where I would go. There's also Roam.travel, which is another one, and that one's completely free and also a really good one to use. Points, is another one that's free, and it's a good one to use. It works similarly to Point Me. So those are some other ones that you could use as well.
And you're listening to Life After Debt with the Marcus Garrett, where I help you keep more of your hard-earned money. If I did not understand it incorrectly, also fine if you're keeping this anonymous. Are you out of Las Vegas? Just another interesting fun fact that I saw out of Instagram.
Yes, I'm based in Las Vegas, ground zero for travel tricks, because one of the best ways that you can get a lot of different perks quickly is if you can status match. If you have status with different airlines and hotels, suddenly you're getting upgraded, you get free breakfast, maybe free checked bags or some small perks like that. And Las Vegas is historically ground zero for just status matching all over the place, because all of the different casinos, once you have status with one, you can just go to the next one and be like, hey, Caesars gave me status, like, can Wyndham give me status too? And so there's a whole complex matrix, but that's part of the fun of the game. And a small part of why we moved to Las Vegas was there's so many different ways to get free stuff here. Like, for example, I got Caesars Diamond status. I've been matching back and forth between Caesars and Wyndham every year. And with that, what do we get with Caesars Diamond? $100 celebration dinner, which we can use at any of the Caesars restaurants in Las Vegas. We get free valet parking that I use at the Paris Hotel a lot. Free valet parking, free regular parking if we ever need to use that. We get a free 4-night stay at the Atlantis in the Bahamas. I have yet to actually use it, and they email me every January being like, are you going to use this? It's going to expire again. And I'm like, nope, still haven't used my free stay in the Bahamas. And by free, it's mostly free. You still have to pay about $60 a night for resort fees. But there's so many different tips and tricks like that in the Las Vegas area. So one of the best places to do some different travel hacks.
So personal question, and then 2 questions that listeners might actually be interested in. Personal question, are these transferable? We might need to talk offline. Because I am looking into Super Bowl this year. So just, keep that in mind, back of your mind, something to, I also accept Christmas gifts and bribery. And like the listening audience, we have unfortunately reached the wrap. For a feature in a future video, drop a comment below and I will video reply, or hit the subscribe and follow button. Thanks for coming on the show, Julia. Please tell the viewers where they can learn more about you.
So I mostly hang out on Instagram, where my handle is Geobreeze Travel. I also have a YouTube and a podcast by the same name, and I have a newsletter every week where we will prepare different personalized tutorials for people. If you're like, hey, how do I get from San Francisco over to India on points? We handle all of that through the newsletter, so please subscribe to that as well.
How do they sign up for the newsletter?
Really by signing up for any of my things, they'll be automatically added to the mailing list. But if you sign up for that free course, that's probably the easiest way, just by going to geobreezetravel.com/free course. If you want to get one of those glitz and glamour flights over an ocean in business class, like Emirates or Singapore Airlines or Cathay Pacific or something like that, focus on getting over the ocean however you can. So, for example, if you are based in Arkansas, there's not going to be anything from Arkansas over to Asia, but there's going to be a lot of stuff from Texas over to Asia or from Texas over to Europe. So maybe you just search Seats.aero or PointMe or any of those tools for something that gets you over the ocean. And then you're going to find, oh, here's a flight from Chicago over to Germany. Then just go ahead and book that flight with points. It's going to be a business class flight. And then work on the positioning flight separately. So once you have your big flight booked, then you're going to book your flight from Arkansas over to Chicago. And that works with destinations that are small airports as well. So a lot of people want to go to Santorini, Greece, but there's not really a good way to just fly directly in to Santorini. So most of the time, people will just fly into Athens, into Istanbul, into Switzerland or something like that, and then buy a cheap cash flight into Santorini. If you can be a little bit flexible with your routing there, especially if you're with a small airport, then you are much more likely to find great flight deals. That being said, my airline of choice these days is American Airlines, because for certain rewards tickets, if the seat is available, there's not an extra charge for the positioning flight. So for example, my husband and I recently flew Las Vegas to Los Angeles to Doha, Qatar, to Cairo, Egypt. And so if you just do that Los Angeles to Qatar leg in Q Suites, which is the best business class flight in the world, by the way, if you just do that segment, the best price you'll probably find on American Airlines is 70,000 points per person one way. But then if you tack on the Las Vegas to Los Angeles leg, and then you tack on the last leg from Qatar over to Egypt, the entire thing is still just 70,000 points. And a lot of people really like to use that route instead of going to Egypt to go to the Maldives, because if we had instead did Las Vegas to Los Angeles to Doha to the Maldives, still just 70,000 points, all in for business class, best business class in the world. And that's like a $12,000 ticket if paid for with money. So American Airlines is a fantastic program. Difficult to use because most of the credit card transfer partners like Chase or Amex or Capital One don't transfer to American Airlines. You either need to just have an American Airlines credit card or transfer in Bilt points, which is another reason Bilt is fantastic. But that is a long answer to what do you do if you're in a small airport? If everything I said was just the most confusing thing ever, where you're like, we're transferring, there's Bilt, there's Qatar, there's Maldives, like what just happened there? We have a free points and miles one-on-one course for you guys. It's a geobreezetravel.com/free course. It will walk you through everything that you need to know for earning points and redeeming them for your first redemption. And then also in that course, we have a whole bunch of other cool freebies. Like there's a hotel upgrade email template that I use and hundreds of my followers have used for getting free upgrades and amenities at hotels. Even if you don't have any particular status with the hotel, even if you've never stayed with that hotel chain before, try out the email template. Maybe you get a birthday card, maybe you get a cupcake or a full-size cake or a room upgrade or some champagne or chocolate-covered strawberries. I always like to see what people get whenever people write to me via email or tag me in their Instagram stories on what kinds of upgrades and amenities they get. No, so a lot of people on the internet are like, oh, it's totally free. Well, maybe it's just like $5.60 or something like that. That is a common misconception on the internet that like, I've never paid for travel ever since discovering this, which is not how it works. Taxes and fees are still a thing. I still pay for excursions. I still pay for food. I still pay for all of those things. And for me personally, and a lot of other people on the internet, it's a business, it's my lifestyle. And so a lot of those cash flights can be business write-offs. Like I just found a flight today where I have to fly to Miami for a business thing later next year. And I found a business class flight on JetBlue Mint, which is probably the best way to fly transcontinental from Las Vegas to Los Angeles to Miami. And it was $750 one way in JetBlue Mint. Best business class across the US. So I just paid cash for it because it's going to be a business write-off anyway. But in this past year, I tallied up all of our how much points we spent, how much we saved. I think we got about $100,000 worth of travel, and we spent $10,000 on because some of the flights are just small, cheap positioning flights. Like if we had to just pay for that flight from Las Vegas to Los Angeles or Las Vegas to New York. Sometimes that's just paid. There's taxes and fees. There's things like that. But in general, I think it's pretty easy to get about 90% off when you're using points and miles.
Cool. And you said one of your most popular YouTube videos, and I think is applicable here, is how to quickly get status. Can you tell the listeners, or if you need to screen share, how you go about quickly getting status?
Sure. So I'm going to preface this by saying don't chase status just because other people on the internet have it. If you only take 1 or 2 vacations a year, it's probably not worth this much effort. But for people who are like, no, I travel pretty consistently, how do I get status? The key is to go for different promos, and it depends on what airline or hotel you're trying to get status with. So for example, I have Marriott Titanium status. Normally, you would need to stay with Marriott 75 nights in a year to get that status. I definitely did not stay that much. What I did instead, I have 2 Marriott credit cards, the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant and the Marriott Bonvoy Business, and combined, I think those knock off about 40 of the required 75 nights. So I only need 35. But Marriott will also have these different promos throughout the year, where maybe if you stay 1 night, it counts for 2. They'll normally do this around January, February. So my husband and I will always just go down to Arizona, visit my mother-in-law and father-in-law because they've retired down there, just stay at a Marriott for a week. Those 7 nights are going to count for 14 nights. So suddenly I only need 20 nights left for the rest of the year. And so those are nights that we tend to pay for as well, but it's just a cheap Marriott in Arizona. So just by using a combination of credit cards and different Marriott promos, that's how I fast track Marriott. With Hyatt, they tend to have those different promos as well, where sometimes they might have stay one night, it counts for two, because if you want top tier status with Hyatt, like I have, which is called globalist status, it would normally take 60 nights. I think I actually did stay 60 nights at a Hyatt this year, but you don't have to in order to get status. Built had a promo where if you stayed 20 nights in 3 months, then you would just get globalist status through 2025, which is awesome. If you have the Hyatt credit card, the personal one will take 5 nights off of the requirement, so you only need to get 55 nights. Or the business credit card is also really good for business owners who have a lot of spend, because if you are putting, for every $10,000 you put on the card, it takes 5 nights off of the requirement. So if you're a business owner and you have $120,000 of expenses from inventory or shipping or ads or something, and you want Hyatt status, you could just put $120,000 on the card every year, and then that'll get you top tier globalist status, even if you've never stayed at a Hyatt before. With American Airlines, it's possible to buy status as well, just by putting spend on the card. I think worst case, it would be $200,000 in a calendar year, but nobody actually needs to spend that much. There's so many ways to earn more loyalty points through the American Airlines shopping portal or dining portal. And I had a promo that I signed up for to get my American Airlines status, where instead of needing to get 200,000 loyalty points in a year, they split it up. So I had to do like 60, and then the rest. So that made it a little bit easier to get executive platinum status with American Airlines. I don't have Southwest status, but a lot of people like to fast track the Southwest Companion Pass status just by getting a couple credit card sign-up bonuses and timing that either at the end of the calendar year or the beginning of the calendar year. So just by using some different promos and different credit cards, it's not too hard to fast track a lot of the statuses that are worth having. And the easiest one of all is if you want Hilton Diamond status, then all you need to do is get the Hilton Aspire card. You will automatically get top tier status. Same with Wyndham. If you get the Wyndham Business Earner card, suddenly you get Diamond status with Wyndham, which you can then status match over to Caesars and kick off a whole bunch of other status matching. So there's a lot of fun games to be played. I know all of that was confusing. So once again, if you're a beginner to points and miles and you're like, what just happened with all those words, geobreezetravel.com/free course will help you to get started.